I said the words out loud and realized my voice didn't sound like mine. I'm not doing this anymore. Not the marriage, not the pretending, not the version of me that keeps swallowing it. She laughed like I had just told a joke, and then she called him right in front of me. That's the part I can't stop replaying. Not the call, but how normal her face looked while she did it. And the worst part, I didn't feel rage first. I felt embarrassed, like I'd finally arrived late to my own life. The first time I noticed it, it wasn't dramatic. It was me standing in our hallway, holding a shoe that wasn't mine, trying to remember if I'd bought it for her. My brain did that stupid inventory thing. Ours, hers, ours, like love is a spreadsheet. And I hate that I even think like that now. We've been together 7 years, married for 3. Not ancient, not brand new. Enough time for routines to feel like safety. Enough time for the tiny changes to feel like I'm imagining them. She'd started dressing like she was going somewhere that required approval. New perfume, new, I'm just tired tone. And she'd been mean in this clean, efficient way. Little digs, then a smile like I was too sensitive to understand a joke. I kept telling myself, work stress, maybe. Maybe I'd gotten boring. Maybe I deserved the distance because I'd stopped trying. That's how my head works. If something hurts, I assume I caused it. Then the first interruption, her sister showed up unannounced, dropping off a bag of stuff she forgot, and my wife went rigid. Not angry, alert, like a switch. I watched her eyes flick to the bedroom door, then to me, then back again. And for a second, I felt like I was the guest in my own place. I asked what was up, soft, careful. She rolled her eyes and said I was being weird again. I didn't find out in a clean, decisive way. It came in pieces, which somehow felt worse, like my brain kept tripping over the same loose thread and pretending it wasn't there. I remember standing in the kitchen, staring at the trash, realizing there were 2 coffee cups from a place she never liked. That shouldn't matter, except it did. My stomach reacted before my thoughts caught up. I started noticing gaps, hours that didn't land anywhere, stories that slid when I asked the same question twice. She'd answer fast, irritated, like accuracy was an insult, and I'd apologize. God, I apologized a lot for my tone, for asking, for existing too loudly in my own house. The interruption came on a random afternoon. I was home early, sick, laying on the couch trying not to feel sorry for myself. She came in, didn't see me at first, and started talking. Soft, intimate, that voice she used to reserve for me. She stopped mid-sentence when she noticed me. Just froze. Then she laughed and said she was practicing a work call. Practicing. Like that explained the way her hand was shaking. Later, yeah, later, I checked her coat pocket while putting laundry away. I hate admitting that. I still argue with myself about it. There was a receipt, 2 drinks, a timestamp that didn't match her story, and suddenly everything rearranged itself in my head, fast and brutal. The digs, the distance, the alertness. It wasn't stress. It wasn't me being paranoid. I remember sitting on the bed, holding that piece of paper, waiting for the feeling I thought would come. Anger, clarity, something cinematic. Instead, I felt stupid, like everyone else had been reading a script I never got. And even then, part of me thought, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm still wrong. I didn't plan the confrontation. It just happened. I was rehearsing it in my head, all these calm sentences, and then she walked in complaining about traffic, and something in me snapped sideways. Not loud, not dramatic, just this quiet, shaking certainty that if I didn't speak right then, I never would. I asked her who he was. I didn't say if. That felt important. She blinked, slow, like she was loading a response, then sighed and told me I was exhausting. Said I was doing that thing again, connecting dots that weren't there. She smiled while she said it, like she was explaining a math problem to a kid. That smile hurt more than yelling would have. I showed her the receipt. My hand was shaking so badly I almost dropped it. She glanced at it for half a second and laughed. Said it was from weeks ago. Said she'd gone with a coworker, female obviously. Obviously. Then she turned it on me. Why was I going through her pockets? What kind of man does that? Had I always been this controlling? Here's the interruption. Her phone rang. She looked at it, didn't answer, didn't even hide it. Just flipped it face down, slow, deliberate. And in that silence, something shifted. I asked her again, quieter this time. She rolled her eyes and said if I kept accusing her, I'd push her away for real. That's when she admitted it, not cleanly, not fully, just enough to hurt and still leave room to deny. Said it wasn't like that. Said it just happened. Said it didn't mean anything. And somehow, by the end, I was the one apologizing for my tone, for the timing, for ruining the evening. After that, my emotions stopped lining up in any sensible order. I didn't feel fury first. I felt relief, which immediately made me hate myself. Relief that I wasn't crazy. Relief that the weight had a shape now. And then, almost right on top of that, this sharp, humiliating sadness. Like I'd lost a contest I didn't know I was competing in. She acted wounded. That part messed with me. Crying, but only in short bursts, checking my face between them, telling me I was making her the villain, telling me she'd never felt so judged in her life. At one point, she said she cheated because she felt lonely. That word hit me like a slap. Lonely. While I was right there, folding her laundry, adjusting my life around her moods. The interruption came fast. She asked if we could just reset the conversation. Like you close a tab and pretend it never existed. When I didn't answer, she snapped, said I love being the victim, said maybe this was why she needed attention elsewhere. And there it was, the flip, from remorse to blame in under 10 seconds. I remember pacing the living room, hands numb, realizing I was arguing two versions of reality at once. One where she'd betrayed me, another where I was still trying to fix things. I hated how quickly I went back to problem solving. Hate it. Like pain is something I can negotiate if I say the right sentence. That night I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how intimacy can evaporate while bodies stay put. I kept waiting for a clear emotion to take over. Anger, resolve, something strong. Instead it was this dull, grinding ache, and the awful thought that maybe I'd already forgiven her before she even asked. The decision didn't arrive like a revelation. It crept in sideways during an argument about groceries of all things. She snapped that I was still sulking, like grief has a timer. And I heard myself think, clear as anything, that staying was starting to feel like agreeing with her version of me. I told her I needed space, not separation, not divorce, just space. She laughed, sharp, said space was code for punishment, said I was being dramatic again. Then, sudden turn, she softened, reached for my arm, said she'd do therapy, said she'd block him, said she already had. I didn't ask how I was supposed to believe that. I didn't want another answer I'd have to dissect. Here's the interruption. She asked if I was seeing someone. Just like that. Accusatory, suspicious, and something in me finally snapped clean. I realized she was already rewriting the story, already preparing the version where we both messed up, where my hurt becomes mutual wrongdoing. So I packed a bag. Not everything, just enough to prove to myself I could leave. While I was folding clothes, she followed me room to room, alternating between sarcasm and tears. Said I was overreacting, said I'd regret this, said I was throwing away years over one mistake. I kept thinking, if it was one mistake, why does it keep happening in my head? When I walked out, my hands were steady. That surprised me. What didn't surprise me was the guilt. Even then, especially then. I'm staying on a friend's couch now, telling this to people I don't know because the silence got too loud. There was an interruption even after I left. She texted asking if I'd locked the door. not asking where I was, just the door. That tiny thing broke something open in me. It clarified what mattered to her when everything was supposedly falling apart. I keep replaying my mistakes like they're evidence in a trial I'm still trying to win. Maybe I ignored things. Maybe I shrank. Maybe I made it easy for her to treat me like background noise. And then I stopped myself because that line of thinking doesn't end anywhere good. Accountability shouldn't turn into self-erasure. I'm learning that late. She's been telling people we're on a break, that I'm confused, that I need space to work on myself. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's just incomplete. I don't correct her. I don't have the energy to fight for the narrative anymore. What I've learned, if I've learned anything, is that love shouldn't require constant translation. You shouldn't need receipts, tone analysis, or apologies just to stand still. If you're listening to this and you feel like you're always explaining your own pain, yeah, that's not nothing. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if I'm strong or just tired. All I know is I stopped arguing with the version of me she needed to exist. And that feels like the first honest thing I've done in a long time.